All right. There's usually a lag, so half of this might get cut off. But welcome to the Artcasters, episode 215. And if you see that number and think maybe Scott and I are a little nuts for going this far, you're correct. We're insane. So anyhow, as usual, this is our art show where we talk about the ins and outs of professional illustration, cartooning, graphic design, comics, just creative life in general. And we have a rotating third guest. So as usual, I'll just have everybody introduce themselves. I'll start by just saying you're on my channel, so you know where to find me. If you haven't yet, hit subscribe. And if you want to read a comic about faith and mental illness that I just finished the author page for, so I literally have, a couple interior pages and a cover to design before it's going to be ready for print, go check it out at quarterlystories.com. And then Scott, where can everyone find your work? And more importantly, where can they buy really awesome t-shirts at ridiculously low rates?
So you can find my work at circworks.com. I'm also Circworks on YouTube. And right now, I'm doing this thing. We mentioned this on the last one, so I'll try to make it as brief as possible. But I'm trying to get it into this Amazon merch where you sell shirts and things like that on Amazon. The way they have it set up, it's a tiered system to get into. So when you first start off, if you get accepted, you only have 10 slots. So I've got 10 shirts up right now. Actually, I think it's 9, and then one of them is in Europe because that's a separate thing. It's whatever. Because but anyway, so I've got my shirts up, and before it was a little complicated. But I will put a link up. I figured out easier way to do it. So people were having trouble finding my shirts because they're not really under my name. Again, it's the whole thing with keywords. Instead of putting your brand name, you want to use that space for keywords. It's a whole thing. But anyway, what I did was I created an Amazon, an Amazon influencer page. And you can go there and you can see all the shirts and everything. So I will put a link to that. This is one of them here. It's the Rocket Surgery Institute. And but yeah, so and the thing is, I'm not trying to make a profit off of these initially. I just want to get out of this tier, the 10 tiers, the hardest, and then the 25 tier. And after you get out of that 25 tier, then it starts to get a little easier because it's kind of a numbers game. So the more shirts you have, the more chances you have to sell, and that's kind of how you grow. So I just want to get out of that tier. And the thing, Josh kind of came up with it. Very interesting.
Yeah. Let me describe this. So as we're talking about tiers, you just want to imagine the next time we do Artcasters, Scott showing up with like a prison style tier drawn on his eye. This is something we got him to agree to on the last Artcaster. So if you guys break him through that tier, he literally is going to have to draw a teardrop on his eye like a thug and do an art cast. Come on, guys. Yeah. If that's not incentive enough, you guys need to get, for my sake alone, just my amusement, please make it happen.
And that tier will probably stay on until I get my second tier. Because we talked, isn't that what we talked about? We talked about the 2 tiers, the double tiers. 100%, so I mean, like I said, the first 2 tiers are the hardest. So the 10 and then 25. So we want to get out of those. So I know Frank's in the chat. I know he's bought a shirt. I know Josh has bought a shirt and everything. So I really appreciate all that. I'm getting close, but I'm still not there yet. So anyway, that's
they're good designs. They're good designs.
Yeah. And I will put a link. There isn't one in the description yet, but Josh will put one in afterwards, and I'm going to put one in the chat in just a minute while.
Already added it.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, you did. Okay. All right. Cool.
All right. So, cool. So go check that out. And then, did you mention the comics videos you've been posting?
Yeah. So I'm also on my channel on Circworks on YouTube. I am doing a series, How to Make Comics. It's called Making Comics 101. Basically takes you step by step through the whole comic book making process. There is the regular episode I put out on Monday. Then on Wednesday, I do sort of a bonus exercise. And then Friday, which is tomorrow, I'll put out a bonus tip. So right now we've done, of the main episodes, we've done one on getting started, how to start your comic. We've done one on ideas, and we've done one on world building. So definitely check those out, and all the other videos that are tied into that. And if you want to learn how to make comics, that's the place to be.
Yeah, I love it. So okay, let's now introduce Chris, and I'm trying sneakily to also add your link so we can have it show up.
Oh,
but so anyhow,
fancy.
Chris, where can everybody find you?
Everyone can find me at my new brand, Fat Rocket Studios. So fatrocketstudios.com and everything subsequent. So all of my Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, everything is now, which used to be Chris McQuinlan Art, is all being transferred over. So if you're already following me, you're already still following me. If not, everything's changed. So yeah, whole switch of the rebrand for my new business. So yeah. So the website,
I love it.
Yeah, website's filled with it. It kind of acts like a portfolio site as well as an online store. So all of my t-shirt links for TeePublic are on there, all of my prints, all of the in commissions and all that information as well. So yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Cool. All right, so let's jump into the topic. So I think I might actually have Scott lead a lot of this, because you guys are both kind of in a very similar situation where both of you guys were kind of working in-house for a while, doing graphic design and illustration, and kind of doing the day-to-day, the 9 to 5, and then when you guys left those positions,
I don't think we left on purpose. I think we both kind of got laid off.
Yeah, but anyhow, you're both in similar circumstances where that position ended, and you guys decided to actually kind of tough it out and do freelance and kind of build your own brand. And I know you guys have had each kind of your own journey on it, but here we are about a year, I think, since.
Yeah,
and,
roughly.
Yeah, and you guys are still kicking. And that's impressive. And that actually takes a lot of work. For anyone who doesn't think it takes work, go freelance and see how long you last. But yeah, so I want to hear about it. I want to hear about how you're approaching building your brand. And I also want Scott to lead it a little more, because like I said, I think he's also working on those things. So you guys are kind of both approaching similar challenges, I think, and also probably coming to similar conclusions, maybe differing ones, and it'll be interesting.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Well, maybe Chris has a little bit of both as far as freelance and sort of trying to build passive income. I'm trying to mostly concentrate on the passive income side. And when I say passive income, that's kind of a misnomer, because it's not passive at all. I work 12 to 14 hours every single day. So
passive aggressive income.
So, but yeah, so my goal is to, not rely on freelance work, although right now I can't do that without freelance. I mean, if my freelance goes away, I probably wouldn't be able to, I'd probably have to go back to looking for like a full-time job or a part-time job or something like that. So, but the goal is, while I've got that freelance, to start building stuff on the side and get some things going, so it's bringing in money and things, and I'm making some headway in that. But I don't know, as far as just watching kind of what you've done with your brand so far, and I want to know a little bit about the idea behind the brand, the name, the significance of all that, and kind of why you decided to move away from your name to a different, an actual branded company and all that stuff. But going to your website, you get to see all sort of client projects and all the different things. And I know you had mentioned, was it TeePublic, or I don't know where you have your designs and stuff on. But yeah, so I'm kind of curious what the route you're taking is. Is it kind of a shotgun approach, or are you looking mostly towards getting freelance clients, or let us know.
So it's a bit of a story. So last year was a real interesting journey where I started off, as you guys know, got laid off, so I had to be forced into doing freelance illustration. So I spent a good part of the first half of the year doing that, and mostly successfully. I was actually doing work for the company that had laid me off, which was quite nice, and that helped me sort of keep a balance of being able to pay for a roof over the family's head and everything. And as that sort of money, that little severance started dwindling down, it actually got to a point where I thought, okay, maybe I'll start looking for full-time work. And it was so hard to find. Like, there was even a few jobs where I'd been accepted, but the company was just really not what I wanted to do. I found that my passion was overdriving just wanting to work for someone for a weekly income. So I thought I had to really make a shift in what I was doing. So there's what's in Australia called the NEIS program, and it's run by the government, where they put you through a business course, and it's a 7-week course. You go through that, and then afterwards they give you funding for your next year and a mentor to help you actually start a business. So
wow.
Yeah, so I did that towards the end of last year. So this is my second month in, and pretty much the requirements was to put together a business plan, which I thought was going to be really easy to put a business plan together for what I was doing, and it completely restructured what I was planning to do from the beginning, where I thought I was going to be doing freelance work, plus teaching, plus starting an online merchandise store, plus doing mentoring and all this. And I really pulled all of the flesh off until I got to the bones of what I wanted to do. And that's how Fat Rocket Studios came about. So instead of using myself as just Chris McQuinlan or Chris McQuinlan Art, well, the first reasoning behind it was I found out as a business, if I'm just using my name, I don't have to, I don't require an official business name. But to add art to the end of it then meant that I had to actually pay for a business name every year.
Yeah.
And that got me thinking, well, hang on, is that what I want to represent myself as when I'm approaching people? Do I just want to represent myself as hey, I'm Chris McQuinlan Art? Or do I want to appear more like a business? Do I want to create that better perception that I'm a studio, there's a potential that I'm hiring people, or I have that potential in the future? So it made me think a little bit more about how I branded myself and how that's going to look on potential clients, or even people who are following me online. I have wiggle room now to do what I want with that without having to make drastic changes later. So kind of getting ahead of the game in that way. The name itself came from something my friend had come up with, who I collaborate with a lot. So if anyone's heard of Kill the Hero, the game I've been working off and on for the past 5 years, Fat Rocket was originally going to be our publishing name for the game. And I said, hey, I really like it. Can I use it? And then if we do the thing for the game, we can run it under the studio name. And he's like, yeah, that's cool. So I ran with that, and I kind of like it. It's got a bit of edge to it, and it allowed me to change my perception as well to the audience that I was trying to attract. So I've always tried to be a little bit more wholesome, a little bit more safe, to attract, a younger audience, and be, like the tutorial videos and whatnot on YouTube, they have to be of a certain caliber for people to want to watch. Whereas I'm trying to target a different audience now. And that was very purely because when I thought about my demographics and who would have money to spend on the things that I wanted to do, including like merchandise, TeePublic, and art prints, etc., I had to sort of think about who do I want. And I was really into, and still am, like lowbrow art, so Coop, Ratfink, all of that sort of area. And it just sort of fit. So Fat Rocket's got a bit of edge of the name to it, and it's also got that bit of cheekiness to it, being a bit of a, I don't want to say it, but it's a bit of a phallic joke as well. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna run with this, and I presented that to a few people and said, what do you think of Fat Rocket Studios? Do you think this works? And 50% of the people were like, is that a joke? And I was like, yeah, it depends. Do you want it to be or not? And that reaction actually really solidified my decision, because most people who saw the joke in it were more on board, because like, that's really cheeky and clever. I like that you've got the balls to do that. I thought, okay, you know, now I've got the balls to start a business and to rep myself under a, you know, risky name. I finished my business plan, put it all together on what I wanted to do. And again, like I said, it's bare bones. So it's purely a freelance illustrator and graphic designer who can offer those services, and also offering merchandise and building up a brand around that, and using that as eventually, in a sense, a passive income. So like you said before, Scott, you know, to develop a passive income, you have to work your ass off at the beginning. So I am absolutely putting together a whole new range of merchandise, new characters that fit within my brand that will become hopefully iconic. So if you've checked out my page, you would definitely see Skullboy, the character that's becoming quite recurring, and building things around that, and then trying to see how I can maximize the products that I'm creating with minimal artwork. But it's been an interesting ride. So now I'm 2 months in, I'm finding myself doing things that I wouldn't expect that I would be doing, like going out and doing markets to market myself in the public eye. I've always been pretty headstrong about just doing everything online and just letting people approach me online, and just running things that way. But I'm starting to realize now that there's an audience that are congregating all over the place every weekend at markets, who are just walking past looking for something interesting. And I started doing a bit of research and looking, I'm like, most of the stuff here is really boring. And I looked at the audience, and you know, there was at least 30% of people who are sort of like me, grew up in my era, who are a little bit, you know, got a bit of a punk side to them, and you know, they're just fresh parents, and you know, they're walking past all this boring contemporary art, and just like I was, I'm like, man, I could really fit in here and really stand out among all this boring, you know, just junk, you know, between people who are flipping stuff from the op shops, or you know, from garage sales, to people who are just doing those ridiculous, like, marble pouring canvas art that, you know, anyone can do. So yeah, I've stuck my foot in, and I'm trying to do a whole new avenue of marketing and build my fan base from physical face-to-face interaction now. And that's been an interesting ride too, because I'm so used to comic conventions. I've been doing comic conventions since 2010. And so I just walked in with that same mentality, and I fell really hard on my first one, which was really bad for my mental health too. So that was a huge risk, but I bounced back, did another one, and I'm finding myself reanalyzing constantly. Doing the business course completely changed my mentality of how I approach these things. And with market spinning every week, I'm reanalyzing every single time what people are looking at, how I can restructure my table design, what products I can create, what products I'm wasting my money on, and how I can better promote not only my products but also my services to people as well. You know, like, one of the most prominent things that I always had at comic conventions was beauty portraits. I thought, well, I hate portraits. I absolutely hate portraits. But then I figured out a new system to do new portraits. So constantly my brand is changing, and trying to keep it all sort of within the same restrictions as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey how I've gotten to this point, and now every day or every week is just focusing something into the business and trying new things, and trying to I suppose it's almost like rediscovery as well for me, almost every day, which is kind of fun. Trying to finding new artists and researching what they do and how they manage things. And I'm trying to get back into the swing of other things as well, trying to still rebalance. I remember last year saying, you know, I'm trying to balance life and art and everything, and that still has been a constant. And yeah, I'm trying to get back on YouTube and rebuild that as a part of the branding. So tried to redo how my vlogs are edited. And even then I'm still struggling to keep up with those. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a ton, but it also sounds intriguing and kind of cool and challenging and new. And I think the flexibility you're describing is probably really advantageous, especially when you're entering a new market. It's like you have to have kind of an objective, but if you're too stuck on one objective, like you could, end up in the ground, right? Because things change, like especially on the street in a market.
Yeah.
So being able to analyze like what's working, what's moving, like that's pretty cool. And
yeah, and from what I'm learning, like I'm trying to research what other small businesses are doing, and some of them have been giving me the advice of, if you're doing these regularly, things will get better. It's almost like having a mini shop front without having to, pay all the overheads of, rent, insurance, etc. And they said, if you continue to do this, people recognize you, but you'll have to start introducing new products over time.
Yeah.
Because people will start to get bored. So you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over, which is interesting. So I haven't gotten to that point yet where I've got people go, hey, what's new? But I'm sure it'll happen eventually. So, but yeah, it's been an interesting shift, like going from, I'm still running the TeePublic as well and trying to promote that and have that online passive income building itself. So I think I have to kind of put the two together to make that work more for my benefit. So gaining that audience and getting people interested, or just jumping onto my website or my Instagram and then seeing that that's what I also do, and then going, okay, I can buy this stuff online, cool, easy. I'm trying to create a transition from physical to digital commerce, which will, I don't know how easy that's going to be. So I'm even looking at doing the ditching the TeePublic. As much as I love them and they've been great to deal with so far, maybe it's worth doing my own t-shirts, but that presents a whole lot of logistics that I just cannot be bothered with yet.
Yeah, I bought a screen printer and it's sitting in the garage. I haven't touched it. Yeah, because at first it was I kind of wanted to play around with the screen printing just for fun and to kind of learn it and everything, which eventually I probably will. But I realized that I wasn't selling. I pulled the shirts off my website because I wasn't selling any shirts. And it was costing me a lot of money, because in order to integrate with Printful through my website, I had to go to a whole other tier that was costing me hundreds of dollars a month, and a year, and I wasn't selling any. So I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna take a step back. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll print them myself. But now I'm doing the Amazon thing, and I'm also setting up Redbubble. So I figured I I probably don't have any right to start printing my own shirt unless I can sell some of these like print on demand. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. But there's
just speaking of that though, because I want to really highlight what Ryan said here, which I think should become a hashtag. When you buy something from Scott on his Amazon, if you buy a t-shirt at the link, you should post about it and add a hashtag prison tears.
Yeah, and guys, I know Ryan's bought a shirt, and I know Frank's bought a shirt, and Frank's also I haven't even promoted these yet. I'll promote them later, but right now I'm worried about the shirts. But I've got a book series that I put out, and Frank just managed to like track them down without any promotion, and he bought some of them and he left awesome reviews. So if you guys don't mind, if you like the shirts, leave a positive review, because that can help out too. So.
Yeah. Also, Ryan was also saying he's not sure how it is in Australia, but people have a lot of merch, have a lot of stuff done with Instagram and Shopify. I'm not really familiar with that, but
I hear a lot of people talking about Shopify. I mean, I do everything through Squarespace, but my thing right now, as far as t-shirts, and I'm curious because it sounds like that's a route you're going to, Chris, and I don't think they have Amazon merch in Australia. I don't think they do yet.
I don't think most of the Amazon stuff we have a lot of access to.
Yeah.
trying to get like an affiliate thing a couple of years ago, and I got denied. So I imagine probably not. Amazon's not really big. Well, it is, but it's not as big here as it is in the States. Yeah, I think they're only really just starting to make a real impact in the past year or two. So I feel like Amazon Prime's now starting to become a bit more popular. Yeah. But that's interesting. Like, I've been trying to get onto Instagram with their product integration, so which is a really complicated process from what I've currently discovered. So I use Squarespace too. So all of my products are on there. So I have to link my products from Squarespace to Facebook, and then Facebook have to then give me the go-ahead to then be able to use it on Instagram. But I've been having trouble. And supposedly there's a tier within Squarespace that'll, like, if you pay extra, they'll just have that integration set up for you. But I don't really want to have to pay. I'm not making money at the moment to pay the extra.
That's the issue I was with the shirt.
So if I had like the capital right off the get-go, then I wouldn't think twice about it. But it is handy. Like, I do ask a lot of people. Like, I've got my nephew is quite young, so I kind of use him as my base demographic. I'm like, when you're shopping, do you just shop on Instagram? And he's like, yeah, I love it. I can just click on it, buy it. I don't even have to leave my phone. And then I go straight back to Instagram and keep what I'm doing. And I'm like, that's crazy, because I don't do that. I'm not.
No, I wouldn't trust Instagram.
I have to try and get into the mind space of his age group.
Yeah.
To what they're doing to get behind it. But it's never as easy as just clicking a few buttons and making that happen. But I'm trying to figure that integration out. So if I start making the money, then I'll definitely integrate it within Instagram if Squarespace will work. Yeah, I heard there's some restrictions. I think it was Gaz who was mentioning it, that there's some restrictions with Australia. So a lot of it's US based. But I've got some Australian companies that I follow who have their products on Instagram. So I think there's one of the biggest challenges is starting so low, like followers and everything on Instagram, is you're restricted. You can't do a lot of the great things that would help a business, even if you have a business account, like having swipe up links on your Instagram stories, integrating shopping onto your Instagram page, etc. You really have to build that audience first to unlock all of these great features that would then benefit you as a business. So I'm trying to work with the t-shirts and everything. I'm trying to develop a bit of notoriety to the idea of the name Fat Rocket. So when people sort of walk past it, they want to wear it. So there's something behind it that like when you think of Nike or anything, there's a reason that people wear it. It represents something that they agree with. Yeah. Or at least they want to be incorporated into that culture of other people who wear that, be identified as that type of person. So what I've been doing is, so I created just slap stickers, so really cheap stickers that I handmade myself. I've discovered that there's this whole slap sticker culture in Melbourne, that people just go around and slap stickers all over the city. So what I've been doing is palming off these stickers to people and getting
Sounds
them
like LA.
all over the place. And it's slowly starting to work. I'm getting people messaging me with photos of stickers that other people have slapped. And they'll be like, oh, this is wicked. I'm like, how did you, this is awesome. So people are slowly discovering me because of other people doing the groundwork in a way. So I'm trying to work on that a little bit more too. So even when I do the markets, just hand stickers out and get people, just if I give them a lot, then they're just going to slap them on whatever. It doesn't matter. It costs me, pits to do. So.
No, that's great. That's good marketing. Like, it's kind of a weird thing, but with stickers and T-shirts, it's one of the few areas where sometimes people will even pay to promote you, which is weird, where they're paying you to promote you, which is kind of a weird but awesome thing about those two things.
Yeah, well, a T-shirt is pretty much a promotion. I mean, I was thinking one thing that I might do, and this might be a good idea too. Because I've got my own shirts, and sometimes I wear them around, and a lot of times I'll get comments. But you can go to like moo.com and print up separate. Like I could print up a card, like a business card with the image of my shirt on one side and and a QR code on the back. And anytime somebody gets a comment or whatever, I could just give them the card and say, yeah, you can get this here, because you can switch them up. So, you know what shirt you're going to put on. So you put on a shirt and just whatever shirt you're wearing, put a couple of those cards in your wallet or your back pocket or whatever. And if somebody comments on it, this isn't like going to get you mass. I mean, it's person to person, but it's also, anything helps. So,
I love that. You can even add it in with like QR codes or something. I just saw someone mention it, or trying to think of it, on the back of those cards, which make it easy for them to just follow you behind as well.
Make it as easy as possible. But it's all advertisement, it's like.
When I was doing the business course, one thing that stood out that they mentioned was, so like with websites or anything, you have about 3 seconds to grab someone's attention before they will lose interest and go to the next website, which is absolutely mind-boggling that it takes that long for someone to just continue on their path of whatever they're doing. So to grab their interest, and like you said, someone just to make that comment, and you can just pull that card out and like, here you go, grab it. To engage with people today is very difficult. Very difficult. So like I've even with the Fat Rocket website. So looking at SEO and all that junk, there's websites that actually allow you to. They will do like a free analysis of your website. So have you got all the right keywords? Have you got the right amount of heading tags in your front page? How many words have you got? How many images? And it also has how long it takes for your website to load. And I've never really taken care of it. I just thought, I'll just upload all of my images, because this looks cool. It all looks nice and pretty. So when people go to it, it'll look nice, and that will engage them. But then it was still taking about 10 seconds for the website to load. So I had to go back and re-export every single image that was on that front page to the lowest file size I could possibly make it. And I managed to drop it down to about 4 seconds just with that. And watching that SEO meter, that analysis change to how engaging my website was absolutely mind-blowing.
Wow.
So
it's literally just a load time difference, and it had a massive impact on the engagement.
Yeah. I mean, there's still other factors, but I mean that was a huge one. That was huge. I didn't think it was that big of an issue that I really had to have a fast website for people to care about what I'm doing. So, and that I spent a lot of time researching what other artists were doing, going through. So people I knew, discovering new artists who were doing similar things, just following the hashtags I was using, going to their websites, analyzing what they had, and then having to completely. So I spent most of my Christmas period completely redesigning my entire website to make it as friendly as possible for every single platform, as quick to load as possible, because that I needed to get that representation into their, retinas as quickly as possible, and that was surprisingly hard. But now I need to get people to actually want to go to it.
Yeah, that's always the challenge, right? Is like, how do you draw the eyes, and then also the consumer's eyes, not just anyone's eyes, because followers are great, but followers who have money are helpful as well, right? And so it's a challenge. And then I think for a lot of us who delve into cartooning, like a lot of fans of cartooning are cartoonists, and most cartoonists are like broke. So it's like, it's a hard market, to kind of like sell to, and trying to reach outside of that is a challenge in itself too.
One of the sad realizations I have, and I still love comics and I still love making comics, but I have to pull myself away from that whole audience because I realize that most comic creators, just like me, they don't have money to spend on the products that I want to give them to make myself a business. I needed to target other people who would be interested in what I'm doing, and just rebranding myself, rebranding all the work that I was doing, using that same style that I've always been known as to be enticing by enough for other people to want to care about it, and then I can use that as the link to then, if they are into what I'm doing, I'll still do the comics, I'll still do zines, I'll still do all of that fun stuff in the middle of things, and hopefully they'll be like, oh, cool. Well, I love his art prints and I love his t-shirts. I might pick up this comic and see if it's worth it. But having to shift away from comics being the primary thing that defined me as an artist, that was really tough too. I mean, if you look behind me, I don't know if you can see, there's about 250 comics just sitting there that have not sold yet. And that was part of the realization, sitting there and go, man, no one. It's not that no one cares, but everyone's got money that they want to spend on better things, and things that they want to be able to use. Like t-shirts and hats and jewelry and stickers, things that they can actually use and show off.
And the sad thing is, Chris, the t-shirts and the stickers and all that, it's just one image. It takes way less time than a comic. You put so much time into the comics, and and like you said, they're just not, they don't sell like the other stuff. So it's, I mean, that's why comics is like Jack Kirby said, comics will break your heart, kid.
I mean, I've had like comics and anthologies put out by like Random House, and I've never gotten a letter for it or anyone commenting on it. And yet there's a t-shirt design that took me 30 minutes to do that is still like one of the most present images online of my work. And it's literally just like a gag, and it took like 30 minutes to do. I mean, it was a good idea, but it wasn't like, it didn't take me as long as a comic or a short comic would. But that's kind of why, like, I never discourage people from doing comics. In fact, I probably do the reverse, like a drug dealer, try to get them into comics. But I do always try to advise people, like, like if you want to make money as an artist, like do illustration, do graphic design, find mediums like t-shirt design, or skateboards are a little tougher because once again, it's really fun, like comics, and the money is a little lower. But you'll get free decks, right? But there's like, the stuff that, if you can find a window where you can have a steady income doing art, and that can subsidize your comics, that's like, to me, that's kind of the scenario I think most cartoonists find themselves in.
Or like what I'm trying to do, where I'm doing comics courses, teaching comics. And naturally, if I'm doing all that stuff, people might be interested in, well, this guy's teaching comics. Does he make comics? Oh, he does make comics. And check that out. And it still keeps me in the game. I'm still, even though right now, even though I want to, I haven't started the next issue of my comics, but I'm still doing comic related content. So it still makes me feel like a cartoonist. So
yeah, and I mean, we've had like David Chelsea on here, right? And the guy wrote one of the best graphic novels I've ever read, called David Chelsea in Love. But nobody and he's talked to me about this and to us about this, but like not many people know him from David Chelsea in Love, which was like this award-winning graphic novel he did. They all know him from Perspective. And it's because the Perspective books were something people can get something from other than just reading. It's a tool. And so it kind of ties into what you're talking about, where, I mean, ideally, maybe you'll find that window where you can be like a Craig Thompson, or like a figure like a Chris Ware, like a person who, like, the comics become the main thing. But I think a lot of the time it is very helpful to have like a realistic, not so realistic, because just going into art in general is unrealistic, but a feasible business where there's a market, like a thriving market. And then if you can hit that market, then you can start gearing it towards the way you want it to be. But I've discovered too, like with the comics, with everything that I've done, and a few people have said that, they can pick up, a book and know that it's my work, or, that I've worked, that I've done it. But
to me, that every message has been so different, or the style has changed, in small ways. And when building a brand, none of them really reflect sort of one whole entity. They all reflect themselves individually, which is the point, because they're all individual stories. So as a brand, and trying to make Fat Rocket give its reputation that I want it to have. Exactly like Scott said, I can do small handful of images and utilize that as often as possible, and I suppose treat them like a logo and get them out there as often as possible. Eventually, when people see them, it just takes one person to wear the T-shirt or one sticker for them to see down the road. Okay, I remember that. I remember seeing that somewhere. I remember that brand, and then that cycle sort of continues on. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I mean, I've seen it in real time, where like shirts, weirdly enough, when they get popular, and it goes fast, and it gets ripped off fast. It's a crazy industry. But the cool thing is, like, when you hit it with shirts, like, it's pretty visible. Like, you'll be at the mall and you'll see people you've never met wearing your shirt. Like that kind of thing starts happening. But it is a long game thing, and it is like the right concept meeting the right time with the right market, and that's that.
Yeah. I've been toying with this really fun marketing idea, because I've been getting into more traditional methods of painting. So I've recently been getting into Andy Warhol and Jean-Michel Basquiat and Banksy and Anthony Lister. So real credible street artists who got their name from just being prominent and out there, and doing different things. And one of my friends recently got me into like doing stencils and such. And I like the idea of stencils are just so easy to do and so easy to create art prints from, that I want to do collections of them. So print 20 of each design or whatever, go out into the city and do art drops. And they're all just the same design. And we'll just have in the same system that art drop works. But ideally try and relate it to the Skullboy, for example, is probably the perfect thing for Fat Rocket. The Skullboy face, have a stencil of that, throw them out everywhere, maybe even get like some cheap frames, and then a bunch of them at different op shops all over, or you guys call them thrift shops, all over the state. So people will start noticing them and recognizing them. So I am inadvertently just throwing them away for people to collect all over the place, and creating recognition that way as well.
Yeah.
And relating it all back to the online. So everything people pick up will have, the Instagram page, etc. So they'll see it and they'll be able to follow those trails. And then in the hope that I'll do another run of these limited prints, I'll head down to the city and post something and do it. And then hopefully there'll be people that be like, oh man, I have to go out, I have to get that. Create again that sort of notoriety, and that relates again back to the t-shirts, and so you'll see someone wearing that t-shirt and you'll be like, oh, there it is. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of really interesting ways to do it. That's just away from just Facebook ads and
100%.
Yeah.
And I've seen that succeed. I mean, like when I was going to school in Long Beach, that was a huge thing where you'd see like this kind of trend of stuff that was pasted up, like people would just sneak out at night and just paste posters all over the place, and stencils and stuff like that. And you'd see like certain images that just kind of repeat and then end up in stores. And same with LA, like it's a viable marketing scheme, although it can be dangerous, like legally, but it's
dangerous. Yeah, I've had this really, since getting into all of these artists, this strong urge to just go out in the middle of the night and just douse my whole city in Fat Rocket tags. And I said to my wife, I'm like, would you be upset if I went out at in the middle of the night to do some artwork on the streets? And she's like, I suppose if you don't get arrested, but I'm not condoning it.
It's doable, and I won't say I've done it, but I also won't say I haven't. So it's kind of fun.
I'm trying to go through the right avenues to do it as well. Like I want to get more into street art and murals as well. So I'm trying to go through the right avenues with the councils and everything here, but they're making it really difficult as well. but like in the back of my head, it all comes back to, you know, this is representing me and my brand, and it's all going to relate back to Fat Rocket. So I just put a pitch in to do a art trail for like these giant statues that the Royal Children's Hospital is running.
Awesome.
So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be able to do something like that and paint this giant weird statue thing. I posted like a sample one on my Instagram.
I saw that, and I was wondering if that was an actual piece. It looked like it may have been digitally created. So
yeah, so that was the mock-up that they provided. So
cool.
That's the statue, and then what they give you is like a blank canvas of that statue to do the design work on. I can probably share it. I wasn't sure if I should share it, just because it's, you know, under submission, but I suppose it won't really matter too much.
Well, also, one of the let's see. Oh, cool.
Oh,
yeah.
sweet.
So, yeah, I had actually seen like the one on Instagram where it showed kind of the actual statue. It looked like a mock-up or something.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what's cool about that is there was, and I think I just mentioned this on the last Artcasters, but when we were talking about Creative South, because one of the presentations that somebody did that really affected me was they were talking about how there was this wall that they really wanted to do a mural on, but there was whatever I don't know if I remember this correctly, but I think it may have. There was a wall that had a mural. It was like a famous mural, so they couldn't paint over it or whatever. But I think it was something like Bill Cosby or something like that, where whoever the mural was of, kind of ran into some trouble publicity-wise, so they needed to paint it over. But I guess what the person did was they just took a picture of the wall and basically just in Photoshop or whatever, they put their own mural, and they would just do this with different walls, and they present it to the people and like, oh man, this looks great. And then they actually they got to do stuff like that. So I mean, that's not a bad idea. Like just instead of, you wouldn't even, it's a little less risky. You just take a picture of whatever that thing is, and then you put your own artwork in Photoshop, and then you post that on Instagram or whatever, or you can get it out to whoever owns the building or whatever it is. But that's kind of an interesting thing. So I was talking about how I was thinking what I wanted to do is just take a bunch of pictures of like power boxes and stuff and turn them into robots, which I don't know if I'll ever do that, but I thought it was kind of a cool thing that might get some traction on Instagram because people like that kind of stuff.
Like I'm going to give that a shot now. Because there's a park 5 minutes down the road from my house that has a rebound wall on the side of the basketball court. And it constantly gets graffiti, and they constantly just come in and repaint over it. So I emailed the council and said, here's this rebound wall. Let me do a mural. I'm happy to work with you. Here's some links to work that I've done before. Let me know what you think. And they just shut me down straight away. Didn't even consider it. So I tried to make a real proper proposal to them, to explain who I was and my experience. But doing something like that could be the difference between a yes and a no. So I'm totally going to steal that and try it.
Yeah, it's a good idea because we always kind of forget as artists that not everybody can visualize based on like description. Like we all have really active imaginations, so when somebody describes something, we can start like visualizing it, but not everybody has that capability. So when you're dealing with clients, if you can spell it out for them visually, like you're way more likely to get the gigs. So that's not a bad call. Also, just like I said, from growing up in California, that is not a crazy idea. It's totally possible, and I've seen it happen for many careers. I mean, there's Mike Giant, he mostly was in the Bay Area, but one of the best hand letterers alive. And he just did graffiti everywhere, and people just loved his letter forms. And then he started a clothing company called Rebel 8. But that's after he got like invited to do, covers of like prestigious magazines and all this stuff. And it's literally from just being like a vandal with like really great type. And that's the capture with it is like, I think if you take it from a standpoint of like, treating it with respect, it's like I think you'll like whether you do it through legal or other means, like I think it is a totally viable marketing route. Yeah.
The other thought I'd had was just going down there with a big roll of canvas and duct taping it to the wall and just painting the mural anyway and filming it, and then just take it down when I'm done. Or if the cops show up, I can just pull it down and not get in trouble.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
But I can say I've delved in that. I can't say I have, but I can't say I haven't a few times, and it's fun. It is fun, and it's addictive. So there are times where I get the ache to like to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Especially when I see like a billboard that just seems really intrusive, and it's like, dude, I didn't ask for this stupid ad to be shoved in my face like while I'm driving or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a huge part of me that would love to get in dialogue with that billboard.
Yeah. I'm discovering that too. I'm discovering that I suppose it comes from the lack of comics, that there's still messages that I want to say, or there's things that I'm learning that I want to reflect onto those that follow me. And a lot of people who follow me are artists, so I find that I always appreciate when a good artist just throws a little bit of sort of just something at me, and it's a bit profound. I'm like, oh, cool, and I'm trying to I'm doing like this series of paintings of these faces, just a whole completely different style, sort of a bit of my cartoony style mixed with it, inspired by street art, and using those to sort of tell messages as well. And even just the small stuff I've been posting have been that people have been digging. But yeah, it's nice to have be able to still present dialogue in a way that people can enjoy and respect, and you can have your say. And I suppose put it in front of people's eyes when they didn't ask for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a good argument to be made that like if it's a public space, it should be a public space. So why can't we draw on it?
Yeah. Supposedly, my main city, Melbourne, apparently they have a law with street art that doing street art is frowned upon. But once the street art's finished, and as long as it adds to the culture of the city as a whole, they won't remove it.
Yeah.
So even if you do something on the side of the business, and the business then wants to remove it, they won't, because the council say, well, this actually improves the art culture within our city, so we're going to leave it there. It's really interesting. A friend of mine was telling he would just go into town during the week, and even some people, because of the culture that Melbourne has, people will walk past street artists in the alleyway, or they'll stop and watch. They won't do anything about it. If a cop walks past, it's different. They might tell you to shoot, but they it's really interesting. But where I am, which is about an hour away from Melbourne, they don't seem to care. When I drive around, there's nothing. There's no real art culture here. It sucks.
Yeah.
And I'd like to change that too, sort of as a part of what I'm feeling, and as part of the brand of my business as well. That underlying part. I want to brighten up the city, as make it. People will love art. Why? I don't understand why councils want to prohibit that.
Yeah, and I think I can say stencils and like quick, wheat paste jobs don't take a lot of time.
No, yeah.
And they're pretty easy to do under the radar. So not encouraging it, just saying it's possible. It's not a crazy plan. That's awesome. That's a cool angle too to marketing, that I think I'm constantly trying to think of things like that. Similarly, like even with my comic that I'm about to wrap up, it's like I keep thinking, of booking gigs with my band and then selling them at bars, because I actually think I might actually make better sales in that environment with the type of comics I do than like at a comic convention, where people would be like, where are the capes and tights and superheroes? And I'll be like, I don't do that kind of book. But, if I'm at like a microbrewery with rock and roll, I'm like, oh, that's like half my demographic right there anyway.
I think Josh, in your case, with I don't know what kind of, I've got like your shut up and make stuff T-shirt and everything with the cool hand lettering, which resembles the look of your comic as well. So I don't know what kind of merch you're going to do once the band gets going, but if it feels like that, I mean, everything could be still so cohesive on that table, that merch table, and the comic could fit right in with that. You know?
Yeah, 100%. So I kind of feel like there's outside ways of promoting art that people don't really go to when they're just using the internet as a vehicle. And I think it's cool that, I don't know, it's just interesting and cool to hear that you're approaching more of like a person-to-person thing, because actually a lot of business is done that way, even to this day. A lot of great business deals are done just at a dinner, you know, and that still exists. I mean, it's, you know, a lot of people think that's old hat, but it's like, I've seen it, and it's, you know, it's not an absurd way to go about it, you know?
Yeah. Listen, like I was even thinking of doing like the old school letter drops of just doing flyers or whatever and walking around the street, because you kind of forget that, look at a market or wherever, the people that are around you all the time, you don't know what they do. You don't know who owns a, you know, billion-dollar business that just walked past you and, you know, wearing jeans and a t-shirt. You never know who you're going to walk past. But with social media, the audience that I'm targeting is just so minimal. So I'd rather be around a vast audience and figure out my audience from there. Let them sort of decide, you know, what they like and who I'm selling to. But yeah, you never know. You never know. So I'd rather be right in the middle of it, despite my anxieties and all of that, just slowly trying to creep in the way and tell me that it's a silly idea and I should sit in my office all day. But it's been worthwhile. I mean, like I did a market on the weekend it was an Australia Day event, and it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I made $20, but I met someone from the local council who works at the youth centre, and they're like, "Do you do workshops?" I'm like, I can do workshops. Let's work together to do it. So had I not put myself out there, I never that connection never would have been made. And when I met her, like, it was coincidentally a friend she was dating a friend that I knew from high school from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Looking at her, you know, there's no way I would have known that was her role. And she just asked the question, you know. So, I think it's going to be really beneficial to be far more in front of people that you wouldn't expect. And I think you're really on to something there with the selling at concerts. Yeah. Because not only, you know, as most of us know, doing comic conventions, the sales of independent comics are just slowly dwindling.
Yeah.
People want to spend money on celebrities, not comics, so they're holding tight onto their money. You go to a concert, people with wads of cash on them because they want to drink at the bar. So a $20 comic or whatever is probably nothing to them, and they walk away with something that's a little bit different that they've never got at a concert before. So I think marketing-wise, I think it's a great move.
Yeah. And I just think there's, and that may not work, but the point being, like, I think there are out of the box ways. And I think it's like, it does come down to like kind of business, and in the sense of like, you know, you think about it, there's usually a local chamber of commerce, at least in every US city, small city, big city, there's a chamber of commerce. And what's the benefit of a chamber of commerce, right? It's like a small group of local business owners who all hang out.
Yeah.
Why do most businesses in an area join the chamber of commerce? Because it really does not hurt to know other businesses in the area, because those businesses hire people, and they hire people like artists, and they hire people, you know, they hire other businesses. So it's like, yeah, just having personal interactions is never a bad thing, I think.
Yeah. Adding to that too, I've found that just being open to options as far as what services I provide. So last year was the first time I ever did a large-scale mural, and for weeks I kept denying them. They pushed and pushed until I caved and did it. And I charged, you know, quite heavily for it because I'd never done it. There was a risk. It was huge. I was just, you know, and I didn't know how to quote properly for it either. So I was just like, yep, this sounds like a good amount. But then after doing it, it opened up an avenue, and then other people saw it. Like, would you be interested in doing shop windows? It's like, I never thought of doing that. So now I've done shop windows. So you never know what a potential business might approach you with and go, can you do this for me?
Mhm.
And go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a huge power to saying yes to a lot of those things.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
even if it is something where you're like, can I? Yes, sure. And then make it happen.
Figure out the logistics later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exciting, man. That's really cool. That's cool to hear. And that's awesome because you're pairing that with obviously like you are kind of paying attention to social media as well.
Yeah.
You're building your site, you know, well, you've built your site and you're paying attention to the analytics and stuff. So it's not like you're throwing the internet like out the window. You're like paying attention to that, but also pursuing other avenues too, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. I think it's still super important to the brand and the business as a whole. That online presence exists, and that transition from physical to digital still needs to happen. But knowing having a rough idea of knowing who to target properly and how they're going to the path they're going to travel with me online is going to happen. You kind of need to craft that as well. It's easy to just sort of throw up all your social medias and website and go, okay, this exists, but you have to consider the path that the customer is traveling to try and nail that sale. Whether it's a commission job or whether it's buying a t-shirt or whether it's buying a print or whatever. Like for example, for my t-shirts, everything's on TeePublic, so someone could just go to the TeePublic and it exists. But to make it easier, there's a t-shirt link on my website which showcases all of these t-shirts as individual products, and then make it, which is for me formatted in a much more visually appealing manner than what TeePublic shows, and then they can just directly go to that product. So I didn't have to spend that time because TeePublic does all the work, but I thought if I want to create that experience for the customer to enjoy seeing what they want or finding what they want easier, they need to create that. And and the same with Instagram too. Like I've always found Instagram extremely difficult for the way that they allow links. So I discovered that Linktree is a really popular option that most people that I follow use now, which is essentially just a web page full of links. It's just presented really basic. You can just put all of your links in there. But that's worked out well too, and I can get the analytics from what people are clicking based on that too. So I can see where people are going, and I'm not limiting my Instagram to just one destination now.
That makes sense. That's because that's the problem with because it basically I've got the link to CircWorks, but I like that. I didn't even think of like a Linktree thing where you could put all your links, and because then you could just say, like since I don't have shirts on my website, if I'm promoting shirts, I could say, go to link in description, and then that'll take you to Linktree, and it would say shirts or whatever. So yeah,
it makes it so much easier for you when you do a post, you just go link in the bio. You don't need to change the link every time to update whatever your most current thing is.
Yeah.
The only time I've ever done anything different was when I was running a Kickstarter. I took my website link out and put the Kickstarter link in. So, but that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why I never thought of it. It seems pretty elementary, but I never thought of it.
I was really hesitant with it because I hate the design of it. Like if I could do it myself, it's not how I would present it.
I haven't actually looked at it, so I don't know what it looks like. But so I'm just imagining that.
It's really basic. It just looks really simple. It's just square links with whatever you want to.
Because I know I haven't updated it forever, but there's like about me, which is kind of the same thing where you go there and they'll have links to all the different places and everything. So.
Yeah, and Linktree is more like just a dead page with just links.
Yeah,
and yet it works. I mean, people use it.
Yeah, that's it. Like I was hesitant because I don't like the design of it. I didn't think that it was a worthwhile thing to have. But when you see so many other prominent people on Instagram using it, it makes sense to follow what they're doing.
Yeah,
because other people are already familiar with it. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it doesn't work. And I find like with TikTok, I hate TikTok and I can't get used to it. But I know that I really should be spending time on TikTok because there's a big audience there that are using it every day. And if I can figure out how to use TikTok to sell myself, then I should be.
Yeah.
You know, there's audiences out there who are using things, and just because we're not, you know, into it or accustomed to it, you kind of should be jumping on if you care enough about the business to do it. I just wish I could pay someone else to do it for me.
Yeah.
Don't we all? Yeah. Yeah, because that's like one of the least fun things about art, but at the same time, it's so important if you want to, you know, kind of keep a roof over your head and kind of keep doing art. It's like that stuff. I was talking to somebody a couple days ago who was like wanting to get into freelance, and they're kind of in a scenario similar to like where you guys were like a year ago or like longer, you know, probably a lot longer ago, because even in those scenarios, you guys had experience in art and working professionally. This is a person who's green, and that's what they were asking was like, well, what should I do for my day? And I was like, well, you spend like a good like 4 or 5 hours just like sending out queries. And they were like, what about designing my site and stuff? I'm like, no, you got to have that. You got to have your portfolio and stuff. You got to be building work, but yeah, like a good half of a workday spends chasing leads, and they're always shocked by that. Like whenever I talk to newer artists, they're shocked by that. But I'm like, well, what do you think salespeople do at a company? Like what do you think they're doing all day? Like, do you think they're just retaining sales, or do you think they're growing? And I mean, part of why businesses have sales staff that like are chasing leads is so they can grow or sustain their business. And it's like, if it's your own business, you got to be your own sales, and sales is an important department, you know. That's an important section of business, you know. So
yeah, like if you plan it ahead, you can do it without really draining your time too. So I try and keep a family balance. So in the evenings, you know, we still do the family routine. I put the kid to bed, or I bath the kid to bed, read her a book, and then me and my wife hang out on the couch and watch a bit of telly, and that's sort of our quiet time. But I can still sit on my phone and do a whole lot of cold calling to bands and local businesses and coffee shops on Instagram, and I can do all of my, you know, admin work in that, or my sales rep work on the couch. So when the day comes, follow up on all of that, and then get back to the drawing board. Or even do cold calling that I can't do, you know, by researching for companies in the area. But like it sucks because there is the unglorified side of it all, where you are a sales rep, you are out there hunting for the work, and I'm really hoping that the markets sort of cross over. They're not just me selling products, but they're also me marketing myself as a service provider as well. Ideally, like in the same sense with Scott, like I want to move away from client work altogether, unless it's painting or mural painting, etc. But I don't want to be doing like at the moment I do water bottle labels, like custom water bottle labels, and that's sort of my ongoing thing. And it's easy, it pays really well, but I don't want to be doing that forever. I just want to be able to wake up in the morning, do the work that I want to do, prep for the market on the weekend, go to the market. That makes me the money for the week, and then continue on the next week, you know, creating new artwork. And then, if it comes along that sounds really cool, then I'll take it. I want to be, I do want to build up to a point where I can say no. I'm not really interested, But, like you have to have the humility now to take on the stuff that you don't want. So, like at the moment, I'm doing portraits, and I really, I don't mind doing them. They're easy, but there's a little part of my soul that just gets smaller and smaller as I do them. They're essentially just trace overs of photos. But I did the homework. I figured out what people wanted. I figured out the price points that people want, and that I can effectively work within that time frame to make it worth my while financially. And that's what it ended up working out as. You know, I had to do all that horrible work to figure it out. But that then just created opportunities once I'd figured all of that out, you know, and now I've got the work. And then hopefully that'll just, you know, once I finish, then I do the marketing spiel, thanks for hiring me. Come to Fat Rocket, check me out, leave a review, check out some of the other stuff that I do, hopefully gain a fan, then build it up, and then eventually just get rid of it.
Agreed. Yeah. I think that's awesome, man.
So, if I had anyone ask me what advice they wanted, like to be a designer or whatever, I'd just be like, have humility in the work that you do. Don't poo-poo it just because you've got a sense of pride. If you're trying to start a business and people are willing to pay you for a service, just take it. Within the right means. Don't work for a D hole that's gonna underpay you and overwork you. But at least someone wants you to do something that's not really in your comfort zone. Get out there and just try it anyway.
Yeah. And my thought on it is like drawing is a hell of a lot more fun than like bricklaying.
Yep.
So, to me, it's like if it's drawing, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I want to draw my own stuff. I generally don't like doing client work, in general. Even good clients, like I want to draw what I want to draw, but it's, anytime I'm in like a position like that, I'm like, well, it is kind of cool to get paid to draw though. Like that in itself is kind of cheating the system to even be able to get away with. Because like I said, there's a lot of people who are doing like, manual labor and stuff. And I'm like, it is labor, it's work to draw, but I enjoy it a heck of a lot more than like being out in the sun, like laying brick or something, so. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. So, like I see a lot of friends who are tradies on days like today where it's 40 degrees, which probably doesn't sound hot to you guys, but it's boiling here. And they're just covered in, all of their safety work gear and out, on scaffolding. And I'm here drawing with the fan on. I'm like, yep, head to you guys. No.
Yeah.
I'm looking back, as much as I hated getting laid off a year ago, it's probably been the biggest blessing in disguise for me. For them telling me that we don't have a job for you anymore. Like, cool, I'll just find my own job. And now it's been a roller coaster, but man, it's way better. Way better.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of lost half my income, but I'm so much happier now.
Yeah.
And I know, if I keep at it, I'll be able to build that back up. But it's so you got to scrape by a little bit, but man, it just beats doing work for other people.
Yeah.
Like for us, we live week to week, just barely. I'm still building this thing, but within a year's time, like if I look back, it'll have grown. Like I have no doubt that it'll grow. I just have to make sure that I am smart enough to follow all the right avenues. And like any shop, like the comic shops at the moment, their comics aren't selling well, but they have to reanalyze and go, okay, well, let's look at pop vinyls, or let's look at toys. Let's look at other things that we can do to increase the business.
Yeah, like community activities and
Yeah. Not every business stays the same, forever. They have to make those changes as the economy, changes, and they just adapt to it. And it's just the same. Again, going back to the portraits, I don't enjoy them, but I have to adapt, because if I want to get a roof over my head, I've got to do this, I've got to do that dirty stuff until I get big enough that, one day I'll just be able to draw a stick figure on a piece of paper and someone will pay $10,000 for it, and it'll be in a gallery.
Yep.
One day.
There's a great story about like this guy was owed money to Picasso, or no, Picasso owed him money, and then Picasso just drew a Picasso on the check, so the guy couldn't cash the check because the drawing was more valuable.
Oh wow.
And he was like, I'm not going to take this as payment. It's not valuable. You just doodled on it. And he was like, no, you don't understand. And he's like, it took you 5 minutes. And that's where that quote of like, well, it didn't take.
Oh, is that the same thing?
In a lifetime. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but But I thought that was also a funny way to get somebody to not cash your check. If your art starts accruing in value, start drawing on checks so people don't want to cash them.
Of course, you have to be percussive to do that.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Reminds me
So
of the
anyhow-
scene. Yeah.
Oh, go
Sorry,
ahead.
no. I recently discovered Basquiat. I recently watched the movie, which I had no idea existed.
Mhm.
And there's a scene where there's these graffiti artists just tagging, and he's at his prominence at this point. You know, he's friends with Andy Warhol and all this, and he just jumps right in and tags his name Samo, and they're just like, "What'd you do that for, man?" He's like, "It's worth money now." You know, you just had to, just that little difference, you know.
Yeah,
Just remind me of that story. Yeah.
that's awesome. Cool. So, did we? I mean, we've been going for over an hour. Did we touch on everything that we were aiming for? Scott, is there anything else? Chris, anything else you guys wanted to touch on?
I could talk for hours if you let me. So,
Me too. I'm enjoying this conversation, and I'm actually really digging hearing like the different approaches. It's been cool, like kind of seeing Scott's journey, and it's cool to hear about yours too. Because, like I said, it's and I hope this doesn't come across in a demeaning way because it's not meant that way. It's like I'm impressed you guys are a year in, and you're still kicking. That's good. It's a really good sign because those first years with that kind of thing are really tough. And so the fact that you guys have managed to ride it out and are actually seeing some growth, it's like that's encouraging, you know?
Yeah. The only thing I would, it probably would lead into a much larger conversation, but I just think it's really cool that there are programs in Australia that will kind of help people start their own business. I'm sure there's stuff out here like grants and things too, but it's just like, I mean, the way business and everything is going, where, in the future, I mean, I think it's going to be, and in many cases, it's going to be every person for themselves, it's like, because the job security is not in most industries is just not what it was.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to teach people how to create businesses and stuff like that. So I think that's really cool.
It's also super it's super helpful when working within business. Like one advantage I've had being an art director is like going into it, I have like 15 years of running my own business.
Yeah.
And kind of keeping a roof over my head doing that going into it. So when I'm advocating for like resources or something like that, like I actually really know what that costs. Like I realize like these things like air conditioning doesn't come for free. Desks don't come from free. Like nothing just appears, like it all costs someone. And I think the reality of the cost and the realities of business and the realities of how difficult it is to chase clients and then retain clients and all of that, like it's really like when you're in the trenches, you learn so much about business that if you ever reapproach business, you'll be better for it. Like I really do think that honestly will benefit anyone, whether you're running your own business full time or let's say you run your own business for 10 years and then decide to go work somewhere. It's never a bad skill to have because knowledge of business and just the realities of it is like helps you also deal with business people, and like most of who's hiring you are other businesses, so that's helpful.
I constantly find myself analyzing just like other people at markets or businesses or just talking to the old bosses and sort of going through those like my mind just ticks over of everything that they're actually going through, whereas a year before never would have thought of everything that's involved and how they price their products and how they deal with revenue and tax and all of their expenses, etc. And then what they're actually left with, and like having worked in retail for so long, thinking like, these guys make so much money, and now when I look back, I'm like, I don't think they'll make as much money as I thought they were, and on top of all the stuff they paid for, and the rent, and this and that, and it's really, really eye-opening. It's actually like I work at a comic shop part-time, just 2 days a week. That just helps, make ends meet, and that's actually built a better relationship with my boss who works there, because she's, it's a family-owned business. It's just her husband, and her kids, and being able to have those discussions, and I'm learning from her because I understand terminologies better. I understand what she's doing better, and she's more willing to teach me as well. And really, really interesting. And I suppose it's like anything. Like if you studied film and went to watch a movie, you would break things down a lot more. But I think with business, because everyone works with businesses every day, the things you can learn, it's and I'm actually really keen to keep learning in the future, and do more advanced courses or do workshops and seminars, just to to understand better and keep up to date too.
Yeah, and the weird thing is, even if you gain like a decent understanding of it, like you were just explaining, it's like always, it's kind of in flux a lot. And then outside of that, there are some really basic essentials that don't change about business and have retained for years, but it's really easy to forget when you're in the thick of it. And so it's like sometimes going to like those courses or classes, it's like even like a lot of what you're learning is common sense, but it's like anything like leadership or anything else where it's like a lot of what you need to use is common sense, but it's easy to forget, and it helps to like have somebody remind you of like the basics of it. And then there's some other stuff that's just like completely things you wouldn't think of, and it's great to learn and hear, so that's really cool. It's exciting. I wish they had a program like that. I'm sure, like Scott was saying, maybe there's grants, but
there were still things that I had to do to get into it. But once I jumped through those hoops, it was so easy.
That's lovely.
They almost made it impossible to not pass the course either. They just, all you have to do is put a business plan together, which I think mine worked out to be about 90 pages long at the end of it. That sort of proves how much you've actually learned over that period of time. And you have to then submit that, and then I think like you have to get your insurance and everything sorted as well. It's like I have my public liability insurance with that, etc. But then if you don't succeed, they'll just kind of send you back to make sure that you fix it all properly, and then put you back through. So like they're almost desperate to push people through the system and make it work, because the more people they push through and the more successful people are, which is why they provide you with your mentor as well. So like I've got someone that I can bounce off ideas and things that I might have stuffed up, etc. It's all built for it to succeed, so the program continues running. And these are people who run businesses, so they know how to do it. It's very interesting. But surely there'd be something out there, like even just a mentoring program like that would be super beneficial.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's
really cool. Like I don't know if you get this at the moment, Scott, but like just second guessing your business ideas, or having someone to bounce that off with who's running a successful business in a different area, and being able to give that extra perspective. That for me, that's been really handy.
Yeah, I mean, I second guess a lot of it. I mean, a lot of it is just time. It's like it takes a while for stuff to happen, and when you first do it, it's like, well, is this worth it? But if you got to stick with it, and eventually, because then I can just look back at the stuff that I have done, the stuff that I've stuck with. Eventually, things start to happen. I mean, sometimes it takes a long time. Even like with YouTube. I mean, I've been doing YouTube for a while, and I'm still. I mean, considering how long I've done it, I mean, where am I really? So I don't know. It's like, but you kind of gotta stick with stuff, and you start to see things happen. So
yeah, and I mean, there's if it's an old saying, but it's like if it seems too easy, it's a ripoff. I'm paraphrasing that wrong, but you know what I mean. If it's quick easy and cheap, you're getting scammed. Like there's you know, like most sustainable businesses have like a steady growth. You know, so it does require like a long haul attitude and a little bit of stubbornness too. So and I think proof of it is like, heck, you guys, like I said, you're in it over a year, and that in itself shows a lot of persistence, because those first few months, you know, like it's just, it's cool that you guys are maintaining and growing. So, all right, well, Chris, we're gonna have to have you back on and talk like more specifics of like street art would be a great topic, honestly.
Yeah.
So we'll have to have you back on again. And it's been fun catching up with you, man.
It has. It's been great being back. It's been too long.
All right. So if you guys haven't yet, who are in the chats, thanks to everybody who joined us in the chats. You should all go to Fat Rocket Studios and check out what Chris is building, because it is really cool. It's a neat site and has a lot of functionality, and it does load super fast. When you were talking about the fast loading, I was like, let me double check that. It was like, it was really quick. So, yeah, so you guys, no lag, go check that out. It'll get right there. All right, so let's make the rounds and then wrap up. So you're on my channel, so you guys know where to find me. If you haven't yet, go to joshuakemble.com and quarterlystories.com. They'll both lead you to different artworks that I'm working on. Chris, let's show this again. Where can everybody find your stuff?
Well, you've already done a great job of pimping my website out. So if the best place to follow me these days is Instagram. I pretty much post there every day with everything that I'm doing from day-to-day life to artwork. So follow me on Fat Rocket Studios Official on there, because someone stole Fat Rocket Studios and I'm bummed about it. So,
man.
Yeah, and they don't even use it. It's just a blank page. I hate it.
That's
yeah,
so annoying.
I tried to report.
What they're gonna wait for you to get really wealthy, and then they're gonna blackmail you for it. that's what I'm guessing.
You know what somebody had picked up, because I think I had Mad Science Supply Company and Mad Science Supply Co. And I really I wanted Mad Science Supply, and somebody had it, and they kept wanting to try to sell it to me, and like, what they were asking for. And then finally, I guess they figured no one else was going to buy it but me, and I wasn't going to buy it, so they let it go, and then I got it. So,
yeah, that's the way to do it. I lucked out because there's like a couple prominent Joshua Kembles that are not me, and I'm glad none of them beat me to that URL. Because there's one that's like a guitarist in some band like from the 90s, and then there's another that's like a stunt man. So I should just use that as like a lead in with sales and be like, you know, I did stunts in like, you know, John Wick, right? It's like people could look on IMDb and they'll see my name, but it's not me. Anyhow, but I'm glad those people didn't beat me to that URL. But yeah, it is annoying when people get a hold of good ones. All right, Scott, where can everybody contribute to, let's see here.
Yeah, I'm hoping by the next time we do Artcasters, I'll have at least one tier. Probably won't have two, but I'll have one. And then that'll give me the opportunity to put up more shirts. And I know there were some designs that people wanted, but since I'm so limited to what I can put up there, I had to sacrifice some of them. But I mean, once I get out of that 25 tier, I'll be able to put up a lot more designs and stuff. You
guys, seriously, #prison tiers. When you buy a shirt from Scott, we can have him have physical tiers drawn, and also you honestly will get a shirt you really like. I personally bought the Reach for the Stars, but be careful, they're hot shirt, and it's a really good design. And I wore it to work yesterday and was super proud. And when somebody complimented me on my shirt, I was like, this is my buddy Scott Zirklin's shirt. So that's another nice thing about sporting shirts of artists, because you get to brag. So go out there, buy Scott's stuff.
Yeah, I'll put it. Let's see. I lost where it was. So this is going to be under your name here, Josh, because I'm posting under you. But let's see if that pops up. So yeah, there's the link there. So yeah, and then hopefully Josh will put that in the description afterwards. So if you want to check that out. The Fueled by Sriracha. Once I get out of this 10 tier, that'll be one of the first ones I put up there. So, yeah, there's some other ones that even like my Retroventions ones. I don't know if they would fly in merch because they're very, particular about anything that could be considered infringement. Even though I would argue that those aren't, but I don't know. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm promoting. And other than that, I just want to remind everyone that we do this show every week, usually on a Thursday, and it rotates back and forth between Josh's channel and my own. And if you want to know exactly when we're going to be, and sometimes if something's going on Thursday, we may have to do it another day. But if you want to know exactly when we're going to do the show, what day, what time, usually the same time, late, but whose channel, all that kind of stuff. The best way to know that is just join our mailing list. We don't spam you or anything. Usually about 30 minutes before you go live, I'll send a newsletter out with a link to where you can watch it live, and who's the guest and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, join that mailing list and you will know.
Awesome. All right, and you guys might notice like a little scroll at the bottom, and I'm just saying, make this happen, you guys, by next time. All right, thanks to everybody who joined us in the chat. Thanks, Chris, for joining us all the way from Australia. It's badass. And really great looking site. All right, we will see you guys next week.
Bye.